Hello everyone, my name is Isaiah Garcia. This is my proposal called The Cost of Convenience, an Argument Against the Use of Generative AI. So a little background about me is that I am a college student and my major is in secondary education, which means that I am an aspiring teacher. So that really ties into how about why I made this proposal to kind of educate and make a case for why generative AI should be phased out of most places in society, and I hope to show you why exactly you should think so too. But just some clarification on some jargon here. Generative AI is only one type of AI. So we will go over the difference between traditional AI and generative AI before we really get into it. So traditional AI has been around for a long time, I think since the 1950s at least. The things about traditional AI that are different from generative AI is that they're usually made for very specific purposes. Think chatbots or algorithms to recommend shows based off what you type. It's just predicting what you will type. It's certain things like that. They're usually more technical. They are trained on specific data sets that are smaller than generative AI data sets. But the main difference is that they cannot create anything new. They can't create text that doesn't exist already. It can't create images, stuff like that. And generative AI is a very broad seeking tool. It is used for a lot of different situations, whereas traditional is for a very specific problem. And generative AI models are trained on very large data sets, sometimes including, the entirety of Google images, very large data sets that require a lot of training time. They're designed to evolve to pattern recognition and learn over time more efficiently than traditional AIs. And the main difference is they can create original text, images, and videos, and even music, which you've probably seen around all the time. It's become much more prevalent. But yeah, that's just the main difference in what we're tackling today, specifically generative AI, because traditional AI, it's much less energy intensive, and it has a lot of broad uses that are actually, conducive to furthering society, whereas I believe generative AI is pulling us back. So for the agenda today, about the main points I'm going to cover is the impact of AI on education of children. As a aspiring teacher, this is a big deal for me. The ethical problems and stains of AI art and image and video creation. And then we will touch on the ecological toll of generative AI, and then address some brief counterpoints in that section. First, this section is titled "The Great Unwiring." That's a quote from a study published by Brookings that shows that the use of AI in classrooms has basically atrophied the cognitive abilities of children in school. It's a multinational study, and they interviewed lots and lots of teachers, hundreds of teachers, and they have noticed and seen that these kids cannot process things as efficiently as they could before they started using AI. So one of the main points here is that AI in general is marketed as a tool for professionals. And that, majority of things that I've seen is marketed for professionals in office type situations. But when we go into the education field, these kids are not mini professionals. They're still developing. They don't know how to use it correctly and how to see through when it becomes a problem. So it becomes very tricky to correctly implement AI into a classroom setting, because these kids could not tell the difference between what is good and what is bad coming out of their AI engines. Also, a main point about academic performance is that cheating has become very, very, very easy with the use of language models like ChatGPT, Gemini, stuff like that. It has become very hard for teachers to find the students that are actually cheating with AI, because especially with high schools and stuff that don't have as many resources as, say, a college or university institution, they might not have these advanced AI checkers, and even if the kids are smart, they'll probably run it a few times through certain humanizers, as they are. And it is basically offloading the cognitive load onto AI. And a rule of thumb for me is that if you allow children to be lazy when it comes to hard stuff, they will. I mean, it's not their responsibility to learn hard work just by being that way. We have to teach them. And when we give them tools that make it so easy to be lazy and to cheat, it's inevitable that they will resort to it, and they will pass and go on and become less effective adults. But when it comes to areas that are usually reserved for adults, or at least professionals, it's things like the arts. I mean, it's objectively subjective, a field, but it's an interesting spot where AI comes in. This picture is called ISS. It's Machine Hallucinations ISS Dreams A by Rafik Anadol. This is a still image of a dynamic painting created using AI, and it sold for $277,200. This is created using images from the ISS, and AI was given them and trained on it, and it created a painting. But this raises some interesting questions. First of all, there's very, very large questions regarding plagiarism when using AI, because AI, although generative, makes something new, it is trained on images that are not new. They're trained on existing works of art and are often told to emulate certain artists. And so when an AI artist is creating something, it can never truly be 100% original. And some like ethical, moral dimensions to this is that art has often been a reflection of human emotion and experiences, and the art that is created by AI can not reflect these attributes correctly. It'll just be basically a soulless husk of what is supposed to be, an expressive form. Another dock against AI is that it is very energy intensive to create images with AI. Textual prompts to AI engines is not as, although they're more energy intensive than like a Google search, they're less intensive than an image prompt. To give you some perspective, the energy consumption of a single image is about the same amount of energy used to charge a smartphone to 100% for one single image. Speaking of the energy usage, a main dock against AI usage in general, and one that comes up often in popular media, is the ecological damage that AI usage does. So first, AI is run through, this image here is a picture of a AI data center. There are hundreds of thousands of data centers around the world, and ones that use AI or are built specifically for AI are very, very energy intensive. Data centers alone have already accounted for 1% of global energy demand and is expected to rise. So just data centers alone, not any of the infrastructure that goes into it, none of the prompts about running the AI models or the maintenance that comes up with it. That's just running the data centers. None of the prompts. That's just data centers. So when we understand a data center is just a big building full of servers and computers that run the models. The thing about computers is they require cooling, and that cooling is usually done through water. And some current estimates about the water usage of AI data centers is that they consume or are expected to consume 4.2 to 6.6 billion cubic meters of water by 2027. This figure is astronomically high, but to give you some perspective, it is more water than the entire country of Denmark has consumed in a year. It's expected to rise as well with more data centers going up every day. And it's where these data centers are placed. Some of them are in very drought-prone places, like in Utah, is in the news recently, and then there's some in southern New Mexico or in the El Paso area. These are deserts, and that amount of water usage is a serious damage to the local ecological community, and could severely hinder growth and human activity in the area, not to mention the environment. Lastly, all these data centers are running on very expensive computer products, but these computer products do not last forever, and these going up increases the demand for more of these computer products, which accelerates the lifespan of these hardwares. And if you didn't know, you cannot just throw away electronics. They have heavy metals that are toxic, and it takes a long time to process these things and recycle them if they can. So with the heightened energy demand that increases the demand for fossil fuel energy, increases the carbon footprint, as well as the water usage and electronic waste, AI is possibly one of the biggest ecological threats to our modern day. And it's really going to be a big deal when we go into this next new age and we try and think about what we can have for our future generations. Is how are we gonna go into this debt of carbon footprint and try and plan for the future when the climate change is already happening and we're just only accelerating it. So that was a lot of doom and gloom. There are some things that we can do just in everyday life. Personally, I've taken up a few of these, and most of them right now. First, we need to reject any generative AI products wherever possible. Now, that makes it difficult for some of you that are in school or at a job where they require you to use AI products for an assignment or a project or whatever. But this is the challenging part, is to reject or do not participate in these projects. There should be no reason for the everyday student to have to engage in something like this, especially if you now hold certain, opinions about it. But also for any teachers or administrators that have power in the classroom, I would highly encourage you to reject all forms of generative AI in the classroom at all levels. It does not belong in the classroom. It will hinder students for the long run. It's just the cons so far outweigh the productive pros of just getting things out faster or not having to invest in another teacher to teach certain things. You will handicap these kids for the rest of their lives, possibly. And it cannot infiltrate the classroom. And lastly, what I'm doing right now is to educate others, do research, pull whatever. There's lots of studies. When I was doing research for this video, I was astounded by the amount of information that is available about this topic, and most of it is not encouraging. So I would take it upon yourself to educate others and spread the word, and maybe we can start some change on the grassroots level. So, with all that said, here is the works cited. It's very long, but thank you for watching so much. I really appreciate your time, and I really hope you learned something new.